So I threw in all the cash I had, everything, and I went bankrupt. Nothing is granted in life. Nothing is coming for free to you. You're not a different person that is so exceptional that everyone is looking at you. You know, when you make a bit of money, you buy everything that you don't need, but you've dreamed about it. I think this is like having too much sex. It ends up by being the same and you get bored. Do I have a frontal cortex developed enough to realize that I'm taking risk? This is when you make mistakes, and this is when you don't see things that are happening. And this is when, and this is the most important.
Jean, welcome to the show. And before we get started, I wanted to introduce you for our audience. So Jean Fallacara is a serial entrepreneur, born in France and residing in the US. He is an accomplished businessman, having successfully sold previous companies, yes, several times now, and for over 9 figures. Jean now focuses his time on life spanning, in which he is the CEO and co-founder. Jean has a playful and level-headed approach to life. He competed in martial arts in his youth, and perhaps this is where the name Master of Chaos came from. Having studied biochemistry, biotech, engineering, and immunopathology, Jean is well versed also in the science realm. Today we're going to uncover more about his past, understanding his journey, and learning what it takes to build, scale, and sell a successful business. We'll also get an insight to what he's currently working on and figure out what makes him continue to innovate even after reaching a high level of success. Jean, welcome to the show, and I'd like to start off by asking you, was the dream you had as a teenager or young adult the same as your life right now, sitting in Miami?
Thanks for having me, Liam. Great intro, a bit too on my ego, I would say, but I appreciate it. So what's the dream I had when I was a kid? And that I still have, you mean? Because the dream when I was a kid is not the same as the dream that when I grew up. Fortunately enough, when we grow and we get older, our dream change and shift according to the wisdom that you have acquired. So when I was a kid, I was dreaming about being a doctor.
Okay.
Today I play the doctor and I'm not. But today I dream about some things that I'm very close to achieve, actually, because this is like what I think everyone should be dreaming of. Complete freedom.
And so when you were a teenager, you wanted to be a doctor, but now your dream is changed and it's just for like complete freedom. Why did it change?
Yeah. Well, it's because, first of all, you know, you have to put everything in perspective in life. And today, doctors have limitation on their job, the pressure they're getting in their function, the understanding they have on life at large, longevity in details. Because of the school they've been attending during their university career courses. So it changed for that reason. And the main reason today, as per today, why I wouldn't like to be a doctor, it's because we have to face the reality. Doctor will not exist anymore in a very close future. AI will replace them. The knowledge that you require to be a super doctor today, it cannot be matched by humans. It can only be matched by AI. So having access to thousands of publications with the latest results and research and molecules and everything, whatever the IQ of the human behind it, it's not possible. So my dream of being a doctor would fade off because of that, because in the reality of this world, I don't want to be useless. I want to be useful. So I want to serve. And my task on this planet is to serve humanity as much as I can. And this is what I'm trying to do. So that's why, getting older, my dreams have changed.
Hmm.
But I'm still a dreamer, and I'm a dreamer every single day. And I don't want to quit that.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting how you speak of AI, because I can understand how recent years that would be your mindset shift towards, doctors being replaced. But early on in your career, I suppose, from the age of being a teenager into wanting to be a doctor, and then you kind of pivoted early on. So not even towards where you are now, but you started building businesses. So
Mm-hmm.
how did
Yeah.
that come about? From wanting to be a doctor,
Well,
and then
yeah, I don't know. I think that you're born entrepreneur. I don't think you can learn the entrepreneurship. It's something that is part of certain people. They have it or they don't have it. Um, so I was, as a young kid, I was entrepreneur. I was selling postcard to old ladies in the street, hiring my brothers and sister to do the job, and I was supervising that and cashing the money behind that. And giving them some royalties on the job they were doing. And then it was like from brothers and sister to friends, and it became very cool because it was in a village. So even the old people walking in the street, they were playing the game and giving me 1 franc per postal card. And the postal card, I was not even making them. I was like taking the books and the magazine of my mom, and I was cutting down the pictures, and they became postcards. So it was funny enough. Then at the age of 17, I started another business that was very innovative actually at that time. So put it back, way back now. It was the first disco mobile in the world. Like, no one was doing that. You were going to a club, and it was a club. It was a fixed place, and I created a club that was going to people from cities to city. We had a truck. We had a truck for light. We had a truck. I was a DJ, and we were doing with the team of people for security, for selling drinks. And so we were doing that business. That was my first business, and I still remember the name, Kryptonic. So,
sounds
so
explosive.
it was cool. But in my head, the science was really my goal, and the best science is still in the medicine, in the medical field. So I dreamed about being a doctor. And at the age of 17, I actually went on concourse, on kind of selection for being a doctor in the army.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized that I was anti army. So I didn't go to the army, and I didn't go to be a doctor in the army, and I
Right.
shifted completely. But I kept going into science, and science has been, it's rooted in my DNA for sure. I'm a scientist. There is not even a doubt on that. Like, my first thing, when I if I if someone would ask me, who are you, I would definitely say I'm a scientist. Everything for me has to be uh, pragmatic enough to be driven by science, and business included. Like, business is a science as well. It's a science, and everything that is science is kind of counterbalanced by art. So it's the art of science
Right.
doing the best businesses.
Yeah, that's interesting. And when you said that about even, one doctor, but then in the military, from knowing you the last few years, I don't know if I could picture you being an adherent to people in the military. And I believe I read online as well that actually you really rebelled in school and actually got expelled at one stage. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure it would have worked out there as well as it did, making your own kind of path.
No, definitely not. And you know what? That's why I realized actually that, what was attracting me in the military? It was actually the challenge of being under so rude discipline that
Mm,
I would, my entire life, I've been trying to challenge myself on everything I've done. So for me, it was more like, oh, if you want to go to the extreme stupidity of following rules, a military is the perfect place for that. There is nothing more stupid than like clean the floor with your toothbrush now. And I wanted to experience that just to see how extreme I could resist to that. But yes, you are right. I've been a rebel my whole life, and I've been part of the punk movement pretty much at the same time from the age of 17 with a mohawk, green, and against the rules of the society. And I've been from both extreme, from the extreme left to the extreme right, because I wanted to experience what was in their mind, how they see the world. Like communists see the world in a certain way, fascists see the world in another way. At the end of the day, it's pretty much the same way.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. I'm gonna have to ask for some pictures and we can insert those afterwards of this mohawk. I want to see it. Um, so then at 17, you were still in France around this time when you started the company.
Yeah.
You were doing the mobile DJ. After that, what
Yeah.
happened? Because I know
Was in
you
France.
moved to Canada for a while and then you founded a science company. What
Right.
happened during that period?
So I studied in France. That mobile club or disco was in France. Then I went to university in France. I went to Strasbourg and Perpignan, and I studied in France. And then the last year before my engineering degrees graduation, I moved back to Strasbourg, close to the German border, and I worked at the same time as I was finishing my studies. And once again, rebelling against the rules, I studied because I wanted to have a job as the head of the microbiology lab in a factory, an industry that was producing the NutraSweet at that time, like the fake sugar.
Okay.
Um, and I got into the conflict of like, I'm studying, I'm doing that, but the struggle of being under hierarchy was way too harsh for me. So I got my diploma and I left. And they were really not happy about that. I found another job at who became after Fisher Scientific, but it was called BioBlock Scientific at that time. And again, I was product manager, and then I started as product manager, and I ended up as quality director because I like quality stuff. And then I decided to start my first business, my real first business. And my boss came to me and said, listen, you can take over the business of our scientific division in Germany, or you can take over the head office of Paris, and be in charge of people. And I go like, okay, but whom do I respond to? And he said, well, of course, me, I'm the CEO of the company. And I go like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable with that. I want to be my own boss. It was really deep inside of me, even taking the risk of everything, but it was really anchored in my soul that I didn't want to cope with someone telling me what to do in life. So because I made the first French ISO 9000 certification for that company, I got a great cash bonus. I took that cash bonus. So it was my first kind of sell off in a way. I took that cash that was the equivalent of almost selling a small business, and I moved to Canada.
Hmm.
Um, and I started my first business. So I throwed in all the cash I had, everything, and I went bankrupt
Oh, wow.
and I lost everything.
So
Yeah.
I have a few questions there. What is ISO 9000 for those that maybe don't know? And then why Canada?
Yeah. Okay. So 9001 certification is this quality system that are part of the 9001, 2, 3, and for different industries. So back in the 90s, there was no quality system implemented in factories and distribution companies or service company. So the European Council came up with a quality system saying like, okay, we have a quality system for packaging, for example, but we don't have a quality system for systems. And they came up with the ISO 9000 certification systems that qualifies every industry according to you have enough procedure to control entries, data, flow of orders and everything. And in France, when that, again, when that came in the news, was in Dernière Nouvelle d'Alsace, the local paper Strasbourg, was like ISO 9000, the new standard for industry. So my boss shows at our sales team meeting in Monday morning, who heard about that? And I read about it at the same book, the same newspaper. And I said, I did. Do you know what it is? Of course I know. Yeah, it's a quality system. I didn't know fucking shit about it, but I just said, yeah, I know about it. Okay, do you think you could manage that? Of course I can manage that. I can do it. I can implement the system right away. My father has been trying to do that in his factory there and there. I can do it. And that day, he decided to put me as a director of quality control system in that company and give me bonuses every time that a milestone will pass. So I had like probably 20 milestone, and every time that I was passing a milestone, I was getting the equivalent of, I don't know, $15,000 bonus. So I was speeding up that to get those bonuses one after the other every month, every 2 months. And the final bonus for the certification was the equivalent of $250,000. And I go like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get all this. And I learned on the spot what was ISO 9000. But as everything in life, everything is possible. You learn on the spot and you know what you're talking about and you improve day by day. And this is it. So it's like everything. You want to learn math, you can learn math. You want to learn a language, you can learn a language. You want to learn finance, you can learn finance. If someone does it, you can do it. That was my philosophy. So I cashed out that money. Yeah, I cashed out that money and I actually spent a bit in a market study. And when you ask why Canada, it's because totally transparent on that. My market study was, where should I implement a company that is driven around environmental control, water quality control? So came up 3 countries, Australia, Germany, and Canada. And I looked at the socio-economic of those 3 countries. Australia was not for me. Germany first was too close. I lived in Strasbourg, was just like across the border, was not like an adventure enough for me to start on. So I looked at Australia and Canada. And here's the factor, and no BS. I choose Canada because in Australia, back in the 90s, you had 1 woman for 3 men. And in Canada, you had 3 women for 1 man. And I said, this is where I'm going.
That's brilliant. And what age were you when you made that decision?
I was 23 at that age.
23, okay, and earning that much money in quality control, being the director of it. And so then you invested, you chose wisely and calculated your decision to move to Canada. You weren't aware of the cold, I later figured out, and you started this new company. So what happened? You said it went bankrupt, you put everything into it.
Yeah, because first I didn't know how to run a business, and I thought I would know. Second, I thought that I would be a fast learner enough to make it possible, which I was wrong. It takes a certain time to learn certain processes. And the third thing was like ego. I was coming from quite a big company, and I thought that a small business could run on the same thing as a big company. So you hire 21 reps and salespeople and marketing team. You start buying inventory with no hand. Um, you start spending so much on marketing as well, and you end up by, where are your clients? There is none. So this whole concept is overhead, burning at a crazy rate your money, and a year and a half after, it's just like it's gone. There's nothing you can do. You have no money, you have to fire everyone, and your company is gone. It's finished.
What was the company?
CSI.
What's that?
Yeah. CSI.
What does it stand
Yeah.
for?
Well, it was a Clean Earth Scientific Instrument, the ignition of that. Yeah.
What were you going through when that happened? I mean, age 23, 24,
Oh my
you've
God.
just failed your first
So yeah,
company. I mean,
25 at that time. Yeah. Um, I don't know. You have a part of consciousness and a part of unconsciousness. The part of consciousness tells you that it's okay. You're going to go through it. But inside of you, you start doubting. You start doubting about your capacity. You start doubting about, are you in the right field? Are you doing the right thing? Are you made for this life? If you stayed where you were widely paid, and you wouldn't have all these nightmares and struggle, and you would have security plus social insurance and blah blah blah. And I don't know, there's something inside of you, some sort of fire that is hard to extinguish, and that fire drives you to say, I need to find another way. I need to find another way of doing something. And this is it. It's not the idea, is you jump out of the plane, and while you're actually skydiving without the parachute, you build yours.
right.
Yeah, you build one. And this is it. I think that many people spend too much time trying to find an idea of a business, where it's not that. Is you start a business, and the concept ID comes from the feedback of your customers. It's a different approach to be in business, and this is what happened.
That's
And the
interesting.
second
So,
business was very successful.
so if you had that experience, and I suppose you were passing on like insights to someone else. So I'm running a company, as you know, and how would you ensure that it doesn't happen again? Or what are the indicators that kind of led to the bankruptcy that you could have now been aware of? Did you see it coming a few months in advance,
Yeah. Oh,
or
yeah,
was it
yeah,
like
yeah.
overnight?
Oh, yes. No, no, no. It's not overnight. Nothing happened overnight, except probably taxes and death. But it it doesn't happen overnight. It's the fact that you don't want to see it. I was talking about consciousness, but this is exactly it. An entrepreneur needs to know that the company is not a baby. It's not a person. It's not your friend. It's a freaking tool. It's a tool. It's nothing else. When you understand that principle, a tool works because you put lubricant and you make it to work. If your tool is broken, and you try to fix it once, twice, three times, and you see that it's not going to get back because it's broken, it is broken. Don't insist, and realize that you need to close the books and close the door and do something else. Don't ever be attached to a company. This is where people get like so emotional with their company. Oh, it's my baby. I was like that. Yeah, it's my baby, but my baby got me in hell. And your baby is not supposed to do that. So it's not your baby. Your company is not your baby. And it will never be. You have to be detached by what it works, what it doesn't work. If you've done what you think could have been done to make your business successful and it's still not successful, change. Close it, do another one, do something else, change it, change industry.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that like right now. Say if the company fell through in the morning, how would you feel? And you'd think, gosh, my life is a failure. And you kind of said that at the start,
Yeah.
you know, it hurts your ego. You're thinking, hey, this is the end. How long of a period do you go through? And what happened next? I mean, you must have had your head down for, I don't know, a day, a week, a month, and then you started building another company.
Year.
A
Yeah.
year.
Well,
Okay.
more than that, because, yeah, you know what? Not storytelling, but true facts. I had so little money that I could not pay my rent, but I couldn't afford not being in the street. So I had to choose between either I pay my rent or either I feed myself. And as a scientist, it was not a long time, but for a few weeks, instead of buying food, I was drinking water with sugar inside because it was keeping me alive with a certain energy. And I kept
Crazy.
going. Yeah, but sacrifices. This is where you see a difference between entrepreneurs and wannabe entrepreneurs. You have to really dedicate yourself to what you're doing and be so the first believer on what you're doing, the grind of like doing it. It's what
Hmm.
drives you to survive. And you have to make compromises, of course, because it's life is about choices you make. So you have to make the compromises, the right choices, and decide, okay, if I pay my rent and I drink water, salt, and sugar, I can be functional. I can create something. When I create something else, I'm going to leverage on that to make a bit of money to pay my rent easily, to be able to afford food. And if I have more energy, I'm going to be able to optimize it and keep going and keep going. And this is it. This is the circle.
Hmm.
Um, if that happened today to me, I don't know if I would have the same energy. I don't think so, honestly, uh, because that unconscious part, it's probably way more developed when you're younger than when you get older and you've been through so many experiences. But on the other side, you've been through so many experiences that normally this will never happen to you again.
Right, right. And so I'm just trying to picture you walking in the streets in Canada. Now we have, you know, laptops that you can pull up in any cafe and you can start working on. Back then, like how were you running a business day to day, or were you sending letters in the
Yeah.
post? What does that look like? It's a different world.
A different world. Yeah, yeah. It's almost in black and white.
Oh, come on, we're not talking that long ago.
No, but it's true. If you put it in perspective, Macintosh at that time to be loaded with Quark Express and Photoshop in order to make brochures would cost you the equivalent of $25,000 today.
Well,
And it was a mandatory tool to have because at that time internet was not this.
mhm,
No one was walking with the laptop was almost very rare. Everyone had like the big computer with the big screen, not even flat screen.
Yeah.
And how it worked, marketing was working on mailings, doing mailings and shooting letters and brochures and catalog in the mail. And I do remember um, Christmas and New Year's Eve, because someone had to do it. I was doing with my girlfriend at that time, which became my wife. We were closing envelope with our tongue, thousands of envelope, and putting the stamp on it to make sure that after the holidays, our big mailing will go out with the special of the year and blah 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 blah. But we were really believing that, oh, we're going to hit it because we're going to send that email, that mailing to everyone. So that was the way of doing business. That was the way of social media didn't exist almost. So the only way to do business was like you knock at the door with a rep talking about your product, visiting, talking to people. And the alternative to that was like mass mailing, and mass mailing was the tool. Today it's dead. No one reads mail anymore, and no one wants to see anybody anymore. They want
Yeah.
emails. And even if you dare calling me on my phone is not made for call, it's made for text.
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting. I was going to ask you, is marketing today easier or harder? We have more tools, but there's a lot more noise, so it's very hard to stand out.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think that marketing is more strategic today. It's more, you have to be very strategic, and there is so much noise in the field. So the strategy behind marketing has changed, but the tools to do marketing are tremendous. Like, you can track people that goes to your website, then you can retarget some marketing campaign to tell them that your website had this product and this product. That didn't exist at that time. Like, come on, having a website was like a luxury that you had to pay like $300,000. Today, a kid that can design a website for free. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. So it's interesting to see that a lot of business tools and strategy have changed. But the beauty of today businesses, and especially in the US, is like the American dream still exists. Like, you can create businesses that are outstanding
Right,
with not too many resources, not too much resources, but using the right tool. And when you have people that are talented, they know a bit of coding and AI and social media and communication, then it's actually a game, a very pleasant game to be in business. It's
right.
fascinating what you can do and you can and cannot do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think the tools are just growing exponentially, and the with AI this last year, it's really been a game
Hmm.
changer. And sometimes you're in
Yeah.
business and you're thinking, I have to do the daily tasks and I don't have time to learn AI. But I soon think if you don't, you're going to be left behind, because it's going to do so much. With the
Completely.
mailing that you did in person back in Canada, was that for the new company that you were just about to start? And was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
New Year special successful? What happened, and how did that
Yeah.
kickstart the growth of the next
Yeah,
one?
so it did. It did. It was very successful. So we started to get orders, and from getting orders, we were starting to count a bit of cash. The company was growing. We had enough money to produce catalog.
Hmm.
Catalog is a big investment, and at that time, website were not the same. Like, they were just like starting, and a catalog received in the mail with, I don't know, 20,000 product into it was like the tool that people will use on a daily basis on their desk to choose what they will order from you. So they would send you a fax with a list of product they want to order from you. You would confirm by another fax with a pro forma invoice and blah blah. It was fun actually, and then they send you the PO, the official PO, because it was required. And then you send the invoice and you send the goods. So yeah, it was successful. We produced a few catalog after in the run of that, and that company became very successful. But to put it in perspective, we started back with $50,000 only, and not like hundreds like the first one. $50,000 given by my wife's father
Wow. And
to
what
help
is the
her
product that you
starting.
sold?
Yeah. We were still in the environmental field, but we had a German brand that we brought in as exclusive, and we were selling like I don't know if it rings a bell for you, but a pH meter, conductivity meters, everything that is for control of water, chemicals,
Hmm.
and so on. Test kit that measure chlorine
Okay.
in water. But we were lucky enough because, at that time, the Ministry of Environment in Quebec was setting up new wastewater treatment plants everywhere. So they were allowing huge budget in treating water. So they were doing new wastewater treatment plant, filtration
Hmm.
station, and everything. So they had to have lab to control the water quality they were producing, and we were right there at the right time
Hmm.
with the right product to be a market fit.
Was that planned?
Not really, to be
So it's
honest.
just, yeah, you kind of
It's a
went
bit of luck. But
right.
yeah, planned, yes and no, because every opportunity comes to you when you have your eyes open.
Yeah.
So that opportunity could have just be there, and you wouldn't see it. And it's the same today. Like I don't know how many opportunities you get per day, but here in Miami I'm getting like probably 10 opportunities of businesses every day, and I look at them and I'm just like, wow, this is so overwhelming to see how much um, wealth you can create, or how much abundance can come to you if you open your eyes and if you put the dedication to it. I could
Yeah.
turn myself today to any type of jobs, from realtor to developer to scientist to speaker to whatever. If you pay attention to all the opportunities, you could do a business with every single thing that is brought to you. And at that time, I think it's just like I had my ears and eyes open, and I saw that, and I said, like, we need to specialize in that type of field. We need to bring some things different. And I thought, like, the market was already kind of not saturated, but occupied by the locals. I was not a local. So I had to prove the government that the product we were offering were an alternative that had quality, sustainability, and everything. So I had to lobby a lot of people at the government, have dinner, speak with them, spend time with them to make sure that they would give us one chance. And then they gave us one chance, and we won the first tender. And it was not huge. I think the first tender, the first public tender was $86,000, some things like that.
Right.
But that opened the door because it was the first. And then you have tenders at 100, 200, 300, 500, a million, blah, blah. And
Hmm.
it goes up and it goes up, and then you become successful. But you had to fight to get your chance to get in. Not in life, nothing is granted. And people, and this is the problem, I think, with the upcoming generation. Too many people think that why I don't deserve it, why is not coming to me. Nothing is granted in life. Nothing is coming for free to you in particular. You're not a different snowflake. You are a different snowflake. You're not a different person that is so exceptional that everyone is looking at you. We are in a shade where we all look similar. You
Yeah.
have to make your spot. Yeah, you have to make your spot. You have to make your light. You have to make the spotlight on you to make sure that you attract because you are under the spotlight.
Yeah, yeah, I think I
Yeah.
agree with that. It's you have to be prepared even if you don't have an opportunity in front of you, and then execute as much as you can when something comes your way, and try put your hand out, take the risk, like you did in
Mhm.
that meeting, and you put up your hand saying all about this quality system, even though you didn't, and you jumped on an opportunity like that. So, and this is where it led to. So, what happened next in the company? You were doing well, you getting the different mandates, you scaled up the company. Was this one of the companies that you went on to sell?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first exit.
Hmm.
Very interesting feeling. Um, exhilarating, I would say.
What
But at the
happened?
same time, yeah, well, you don't feel that you are accomplished because it's too soon, too early. So you want more. You know, the dopamine effect? I want
Yeah.
more, the molecule of more. That's exactly what happened.
So, what
So
age
you
and what
want more,
amount
you look at it.
happened when you sold?
I'm sorry.
What age were you, and for what amount was it that you sold for to kind of feel like you should have made it, but maybe didn't feel that actually?
32 and 33.
That's a nice numbers to have and to remember it by. And how can you not feel accomplished, successful, and just absolutely thrilled if you've just exited a company for 33 million at the age of 32? What goes on in the mind?
Well, because and I think that happened with every single company that I exited, even the last one sold to Intest. Um, businesses are not acquired because they're not going well, or most of the time, if you do that, it's because you have a fiscal or strategic path to do. But I mean, like most businesses would be acquired because they go well. They have a nice return every year and they're profitable and they are on the expansion phase. So you buy them and you try to increase that factor a couple of times. So if you put yourself in the shoes of the CEO of these companies, you have a company growing that is in the mind of the creator of the company going to explode more than what it is now. You run a company, and whatever the time I'm going to talk to you in your life running this company, your answer will always be, I'm just getting started.
That's true.
This is it. I just answered your question. Why? Because of that. Because you are a CEO, you are a creator of a company. You are always just getting started. Even if your company does $100 million or $1 billion per year, you're just getting started because you truly believe that you're just getting started. So when you sell your company at that stage, what you're feeling, I want more. And it's a
Mm,
natural neurological neuroscience based feeling. Dopamine. I want
mm,
more. I'm used to this. I'm addicted to this pace. I want more. I want to do more. I know that I was just getting started. So no, you don't feel accomplished. And I don't think that I will ever feel accomplished in my life on that side, on the business side. I truly feel accomplished in my life on the personal side, but on the business side, I don't think that would happen.
yeah, that's very interesting because I can relate to the getting started part. Of course, starting out my journey, but when you think about, some successful people, they go very much into retirement, passion projects, maybe some volunteer work, or kind of try find a balance between wealth, health, and happiness. And maybe that's a facade from what I see on the internet. Because for me, I do relate more to you thinking about you are just getting started and you are going to want more. And when you do well, you're not just embracing that moment, taking the day off. Most of the time, you're thinking, what's next? And what's the next challenge that you want to
Yeah.
face? So I guess it's an interesting one. Did you take any time to celebrate the moments? Did you take some time off work? Did you go out and purchase anything that you later regretted?
Yeah. Well, yes, I think, when you make a bit of money, you buy everything that you don't need, but you've dreamed about it. But when you got your sports cars, biggest SUV, the fastest one, and houses and boats, and traveled on first or business or jet or to the highest end hotels, I think this is like having too much sex. It ends up by being the same and you get bored.
Right. So you spent it
So,
all. You did the
yeah.
best things, and then you got bored, and
Yeah,
the kind of
I
itch
did.
was to
I
get back
did
into
go.
business.
I don't know, for me, when actually, yes, I did celebrate. I did buy stuff that I didn't need, but my goal was like, I want to do more. So at that time, I acquired another company in a different field because I wanted to create something bigger, different. And I borrowed money to buy a company.
So did you spend the whole 33 million on sports
No,
cars
no,
and
I
then
didn't
borrow
spend.
money?
I actually, yeah, I actually put that as a cash down and borrowed the
Mm.
equivalent
Wow.
to make the next company
Hmm.
something bigger. Yeah.
Wow. So instead of so you had a
When you
little bit.
spend, honestly, Liam, honestly, when you spend over $1 million a year, personally, you got pretty much everything you want to have in few 2 3 years. The watches, the clothes, the cars, the whatever. Then you have them and they sit and they get dust. And you realize that creating a company, it's way more exhilarating, way more exciting. So when you have this amount of money available and you think like, let's pretend I have $10 million, I can do a business. But if I do a business starting with 20, it's going to be a bigger startup business with more resources so I can go way bigger. And you take the same reasoning with 20 million and then 30 million. And you come up to the conclusion that the more money you invest in your business, the bigger is going to be created. And the biggest chances to have what everyone is dreaming of, $1 billion company, is
Is
where
that
you're
the
going to be
goal?
closer to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the $1 billion company is the goal. When I started my first business, 1 million was my goal. And I said, wow, one day if I do $1 million in sales, it's going to be tremendous. Then you do $1 million in sales, and then you do $1 million in sales per month, and then per week, and then it changes, and your perspective change. I do remember talking about celebration. Interesting fact, but my wife has been in my businesses since day one, and she's still. Um, but when we were getting an order of $1,000, we were celebrating. Then we were getting too many orders of 1,000, so we couldn't be unless you turn to be an alcoholic. So we started to celebrate at 10, and the same went to 100, and then million. I think that today we actually forgot to celebrate those moments. because it's so much part of the, your life has been around that. So it is a fact. It's some things that I'm just like opening my heart today with you. I think we should go back to celebrating those moments. We just don't do it anymore.
Hmm.
You get
Why do you
used
think?
to.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe it's because you take the kind of milestones and the accomplishments for granted, and it doesn't become so novel, similar
Right.
to acquiring all the possessions. I know
Yeah.
in my experience, we celebrate maybe the biggest milestones, but the ones in between, we're always thinking on to the next so quickly that it's not always celebrated. So, yeah, it's I
Yeah.
suppose trying to get that balance is often hard.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's
when you
important because life at the end of the day is not business, is life.
yes, yes, and I think that's what you're living by more so now with the company that we'll talk on later when we get to the stage
Hmm.
of lifespanning. Um,
Right.
Interesting. So you spent a little bit of money, but actually what you did was you've used the bulk of it to go all in on red, get a
Yeah.
loan, match it, and put 60 million into buying a new company. Did you have
Yeah.
any
And my goal,
like worry, fear that you could get bankrupt again and lose it all? Or did you have like just such certainty when you made that offer?
I don't know, I this is one of the questions I've been asking myself my whole life. Do I have a frontal cortex developed enough to realize that I'm taking risk?
Right, right.
I have no idea. You know what? This is the thing. Never in my life I've doubted about some things I was doing, and I go all in without thinking about tomorrow because I have so much confidence in myself. This is a bit egocentric what I'm saying, but it's true fact. I'm so confident that nothing will happen to me, that I'm taking all the risk because I don't care. Tomorrow, it's going to be okay. I never think about tomorrow because for me, tomorrow, it's always going to be okay.
Hmm.
If I lose my money, I will make more in another way. If I lose my house, I will find another one. The
Where do
only
you
things
think?
that I don't want to lose is health and life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from? Is this something that you think you're born with? Was it your parents? Was it some discipline, some adverse event when you were young? Or is this just
Yeah.
innately coming?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't think it's genetic because no one in my family and the family of my family is this way. So maybe my frontal lobe is really not developed enough.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah. Maybe it's the way that my brain is wired. But I was taking risks my whole life. I've been doing all this risky sport, everything that had adrenaline driven factor was for me. Racing cars, jumping, skydiving, rock climbing, dirt bike, name it. Uh, get me some adrenaline and I'll be happy. So yeah, driven by the adrenaline and the molecule of more. Yeah, always. And I think that this is probably the problem that I do have today. Is like at the end of the day, I think it's never enough. It is true,
Do you ever
and I
find, do
don't
you
think
think,
that one day it's going to be. Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I don't think that one day is going to be enough. Even
Do you ever try to solve that by practices to try help yourself realize that you could be okay with the level that you're at? Or do you not see it as a problem that you want to solve and you're quite happy?
Here's the thing. On the personal side, I'm in the perfect harmony, like the most highest state of alignment that I've ever been in my entire life. Every day is a gift. Every day I spend hours with myself looking at what is happening in the present moment and not thinking about the future because I don't care about the future. That's my personal life. That's the way I am today. Um, really in balance with myself and the world I live in. On the business side, whatever the successes of the business, I always feel them positively, but I have to admit that it will never be enough.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you find at stages that your confidence ever goes down, like on a weekly basis, daily basis, where you just have a period where you're like less confident, less motivated, feel like, oh gosh, I don't know if this is going to work out as much as I thought? And is there practices
Yep.
that you could share to kind of get that back up? Because if I can
Yeah.
personally
When that
speak, it's
happens, go for a walk.
a walk. Okay. Yeah, because I find it can go
Yeah.
up and down with me over time. Sometimes it's there
Yeah.
and it's there for
Yeah.
months, and it's this limitless energy that you'll just figure out everything. And then you can have
For
slumps and
months,
periods when
yeah, for months.
yeah, I would say just the confidence.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. No, temporary lack of confidence. Yeah, that happen every day. You know how it is, huh? The life of an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
You wake up happy. You go to the deepest depression ever at 10 a.m. Then you get to the highest heights of happiness at 12 and back and forth and up to going to bed. Uh, Days in a row, if that happened, yes, of course. Okay, some days I feel less confident. I feel like, oh man, it's going to be a long journey. This company takes me too much time, too much energy. Yeah, I do feel that way. um, when that happened, I'm actually trying to work less
Mhm.
than more. I'm stepping back from where I am, the business and the task and schedule I'm in, and I take some sort of a day off where I'm going to walk, I'm going to go for a sauna, I'm going to do way longer meditation or longer workout, and I'm going to pay more attention to how my body feels. Because I know that if I keep going with work on these in these moments, it's going to go worse and worse and worse. And then the productivity will follow the same trend, worst and worst and worst. And this is when you make mistakes, and this is when you don't see things that are happening. And this is when, and this is the most important, this is when you lose your creativity. Success is based on creativity. If you are made on the same cast as everyone, doing the exact same shit as everybody else is doing, you're not going anywhere because you're not going to do it better. If you step out of that pattern and you are creative enough and you use your creative mind to find ideas, marketing, commerce, development, new businesses, new alternatives, new program, whatever. But if you use that creativity to create some things that could disrupt what you're doing today and the world you are in, That is how business becomes successful.
Mm. Very interesting. Is that I would guess the way you've looked at your businesses, growing them over time? When you've stepped out, you've often found you've managed to solve the more complex problems that were holding you back, maybe, and you've seen more growth happen sooner once you have stepped back.
Yeah. Every time that you step back, you see. I Many people say, like, when you're against the wall, you don't see it, but it's true. It's a true fact. If you have your face against that wall, it's impossible to see what is happening, what has to be corrected, how you can adjust, adapt. Uh, a business is failure after failure after failure after failure until you find the proper way of doing something,
Yeah.
and you keep going in that direction. Then you're going to fail again and fail again and fail again and fail again and readjust. But in the same time, if you have many pots cooking at the same time, you can ensure that at least one is keeping going in the right direction. When this one fails, you can keep generating revenues on the other side, and so on and so on. So diversity and creativity is probably what drives success in businesses.
Hmm. I have a counter opinion on the diversity aspect, just from the argument of focus. And I feel that if we divert too much of our attention away from like the number one priority, we would lose focus and it wouldn't be as successful. If someone's coming to you with, hey, you should make this product for this and do this part for this, are you talking about maybe different businesses, or within the one business, just diversifying the experiments a bit?
Well, making your product available for different markets, I'm not sure it's diversity. It's still the same product. Extending your range of product to different application markets and clients, that I would call diversity. Because if you have one product and you hit thousands of market, you're still specialized in one product that does that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it's not just starting other businesses and going that diverse with it. Okay, so in your, I suppose, following the path of your career, and starting these businesses, you've always done one at a time. So it's clear that that's the method that works best. You've just
I'm not
acquired,
sure.
well, that's true, but going from your experience, and where you are today, we're using you as a prime example. It's not the only way to do this. It's not the only way to create and be successful in business, but it is a good
Yeah.
example. Uh, you acquired this company, and how does one buy a company or even find a place to buy? Is there an Amazon for buying and selling companies that the world just doesn't know about? Or how does that work?
No, it's a group of network. Actually, you know what? You have headhunter the same way, like you have company hunter, brokers that are approaching you. When I sold Z Sciences, I was approached like probably 5 or 6 years in a row. I was approached by a consultant that was just like, "Hey, your company is in my radar. I have potential buyer for you, blah blah blah." And so 5 years before 2021, um, this guy approach and say, "Oh, there is this company that wants to buy you." And I go like, "Are you talking about Intest?" And he said, "Yeah, that's Intest. How do you know?" And I go like, "Oh, because I know that Intest just acquired this other company, and I know that they're in the merger acquisition mode because they got public and blah 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 blah." And I said no, and I said no, and I said no 5 times, 5 years in a row. And I said always, because of what I told you before, I'm just getting started. Every time
Mm-hmm.
my answer to him was like, I'm just getting started. I'm not going to sell it. I'm just getting started. I'm not going to sell it. No, you know what? Come back next year because we're going to be with better results, and I can leverage on that and get a better price from my company. I'm just getting started until 2021. Actually, in the 2020 first, they approached me, and COVID was there, and I was falling under a flow of orders because I was manufacturing freezers for vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So we were swamped by orders, and I didn't have the financial resources to increase production capacity, to sustain the flow of the orders and everything. When they came back to us and said, "Hey, listen, we're still interested in your company. We want to acquire you," I said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a partnership where I can get this business started to the level I want, and then you can own it and own a part." But they wanted to have the full control and everything, and we all know the story. At the end, they didn't end up by making them. Well, they didn't make a great success out of what they could have done, and it is what it is. So to go back to your question, no, there is no marketplace for buying and probably there is, but there is no serious marketplace where you buy and sell your company. But look, in your industry, if you look at one of your competitor or of one of your um, a similar product or a complementary product that is a market fit for you, um, do you want to start a new business or you want to acquire it? Uh, Always check the option of, maybe I can acquire a company. It would be faster. Now, I want to go back to what you said. How I acquired Biohackers Magazine at that time in 2020, pretty much the same time. I had no idea what I was doing. I had nothing in mind. I had no plan. I was absolutely not in the media industry. I didn't even know what they were doing exactly, but I had a fucking gut feeling. And I remember sitting down when they approached me and they said, "We would like to be partner with you to have you on board." And I said, "If I come on board, I acquire the entire magazine and I run it." I remember sitting in my bed, talking to my wife and saying, "Listen, I have this opportunity where for not much, I can get my hands on this Biohackers magazine, and I'm sure I can do something big with it. I don't know what, I don't know how, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know when, but I know I'm gonna do it." And she goes like, "Don't you think you have enough in your on your plate today? You're finishing your book, you have this company, you run these sciences, you're in the merger acquisition of these science by a public company, you're doing all these things together. You will never have the time and energy to put in this magazine. I think you're just wasting your time." And I go like, "You know what? I'm still gonna do it because I think it's something bigger than I can even see today." And look, that was 2021. Today, life spanning exists because of that acquisition.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and what is life spanning today?
So life spanning, I've been in the human optimization my entire life, trying to understand why some people perform better than others, think faster, are stronger in sport, do things that other cannot.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there this elite and why the leftover, are not capable of? So I try to understand that. I studied neuroscience because of that. And I did put my energy into human optimization. And then I realized that it's accessible to everyone. And I looked at the world we live in today, and I also realized that the dream of everybody on this planet is to live longer. longevity became really a hype recently, but for me, it was a hype for a long time. And everybody wants to live longer. And the problem we have today is like, first, everybody dies by the age of 80. But even if you want to live longer, no one knows what to do, how to start, what are the right protocols, what should I change, what should I keep, what should I improve. No one knows.
Mhm.
So lifespanning was born because of that. Because I said one day, I want to make longevity mainstream. And I don't want human optimization to be called biohacking, because I've been in the biohacking industry for over 20 years and I've seen this industry shifting into a cliff of shit. It's not even define what biohacking is, but what I can tell you, it's all the leaders, the influential people that were in the biohacking industry, they all became gurus of their own circle. It's a cult. It became a cult. So you had the Dave Asprey cult, you have the Brian Johnson cult, you have the sooner or later Peter Diamandis cult, and it's a cult. Like, if you don't believe in that, you're outside that cult. That is not longevity for me. Longevity has to be for people that walk the street and go like, hey, you know what? I would love to be getting older and be able to be with my grandkids, child, and see them growing and being able to hold them. This is for everybody. It's not like driven by AI. It's not driven by a supplement and $2 million spent on your health. It's not driven by all these gadgets that are around. It's driven by common sense and adaptability to the human species, to where we live today, because we have been designed as human on this planet that is a natural environment, and we just forgot to use the natural environment to optimize our lives. So lifespanning is
Yeah,
this: educating people, helping them to get there.
very interesting. And I often wonder, how do we know when we're at full optimization? You know, you have
You're
habits,
never.
tools, tricks. Are you never there?
No, no,
Can you
because every
tell?
day you have a bit of decay, cellular senescence. So you're never there. The goal of the body is to be on homeostasis, which is a state where actually you can't even survive because you need a stressor once in a while, or messes is part of the process. So, like, let's pretend that you are on the perfect line of homeostasis where everything is optimized and you're in the perfect optimum life ever. Um, our environment is not like that. The way you live, the way you walk, the way you drink, the everything that is around you has to bring a small stressor in this balance and make sure that it's not the perfect line, but it's a curve that tries, tend statistically to go to the perfect spot of a straight line, but you will never be there because there is some things that you don't control, and you will never control time.
Right.
Yeah,
And I suppose then you could be 100% given the time the days passed. You could be 100% um, irregardless of time, or the best your body could be in at a given age. Subjectively, what does being in like top performance to you look like? Have you noticed like a day where you have maybe a bit of brain fog, you've not eaten healthy, or you've a hangover, and then you're looking
yeah.
at, hey, what is like the most clearest head, optimized place you've been in? So anyone listening could think about the steps they may need to take to get to this optimal level for the feeling they'll achieve.
You know what? In terms of brain, to be at the optimal level of performance, let's work on one part of the body, brain. Okay, no brain fog, full speed of processing information, logical thinking, creative thinking, and everything on the spot, like optimal. It's a very difficult state to reach, but it is feasible if you practice enough self-awareness and meditation. And I mean, like, if you are not capable of doing meditation, practice self-awareness. And there's a trick I use really often outside of walking. You sit still with no music, no, of course, no phone, nothing that can disrupt the time that you will spend with you. You let every thought coming to your mind, you let everything flowing, you listen, you keep your ears open, you listen to the birds if you're outside, listen to white noises if you're inside, but you let your mind completely free. And you look at how long can you stay like that. You know that many people cannot even stay 2 minutes. I regularly spend 2 hours. That clears up my brain. That clears up my mind. That brings my creativity to the top of the top of the top. And that's a natural behavior. That's a natural thing that doesn't cost a cent. If I'm really tired, I'm going to use your helmet.
Of course. Yeah, that's very interesting. So I actually, it reminds
But
me
it's
of
true.
a
It
time.
works. You know, I've been an early adopter of Neuralink, and
I think there's a
I didn't
delay.
get what you said. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I
Yeah.
was just gonna say it reminds me of a time when I was in college actually, and I felt myself I was at like top performance, and I used to read quite a bit. I used to meditate a small bit, but actually the practicing that self-awareness, I was gonna ask you what that was, but you've already described it. Sitting there with your eyes open and just having no distractions, no phone. I believe I did similar of a couple of hours. It was the only time I've done a couple of hours. I'm not going to pretend I
Yeah.
do this often, but afterwards I did feel like, wow, I've gone through every thought that's been running around my head that I've dismissed the last couple of weeks or months, and I've processed everything. And it kind of just clears up your head a lot. And afterwards, I
Yeah.
thought, gosh, I need to do this more often. And naturally, as a human, I didn't. So it's something after this podcast with you, I'm gonna have to practice going forward and bring back into my routine,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it definitely helped.
It does, and it works really well, honestly. You know what Albert Einstein was doing? He was walking, and suddenly he would stop and stay still to have that process engaged.
I didn't know that. That's so
And this
interesting.
is, yeah, his creativity is one of the most creative person that had place on this planet. So yeah, he was doing that, and it's interesting to see that it's not new. It's not a new technology that was developed. It's like it's been used already, and like look at certain monk. They're not just like meditating. Sometimes they're just like sitting still and with themselves. And yeah, it's Miami that brought me this thing that improved. Actually, I started doing it in Boston more and more, and Miami is just like opened it. even more.
If you could give advice to anyone looking at this video, typically entrepreneurs, people that want to start out their company, what would it be? And it can be both in business and life.
One advice. The first one is
Or
never give
multiple.
up, because resilience is what makes an entrepreneur successful compared to others. Most people want to have a startup because it's trendy, it's cool, and it's a bit of showing up. But few have the shoulders to sustain the resilience that is required to keep going when everybody is telling you that you should not. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're going to lose family, friends, everyone that is close enough, and that's good actually. One of the advice that I would give to everyone here is do the following that I do very regularly. About every 6-8 weeks, I go on my phone and I unfollow all the people that are not relevant to take place in my brain without paying the rent for it. And the second is check your WhatsApp groups and WhatsApp and phone directory and remove every people that is checking in with you to ask you for something more than 3 times in a row without asking you how do you feel. Those are just like bloodsucker that you don't need in your life. Make that cleaning and your life is going to be way easier, because you're not going to get any energy dissipated for things that you don't want to be in. You don't want to drag out your energy for negativity and all these things. So it's a very simple thing, but clears up your phone, your social media, and your brain, and you are way more performant on everything. Remember, being your friend is a choice, and choosing your friend is your choice.